I have yet to have a business from Kentucky come to me and say they want tariffs. Bourbon industry thinks it'll be hard. Retaliatory tariffs will hurt them. Farmers think retaliatory tariffs will hurt them. Automobile industry thinks steel, aluminum tariffs will hurt them. Home builders think home prices will be higher with lumber, retaliatory tariffs on lumber from Canada. Steel tariffs, we get a lot of steel from Canada as well. Average price of cars going up $10,000. You see immediately there was a retreat on cars because the stock market was going, oh my God, this is going to devastate the car industry. We have transporters, UPS, DHL in my state. All the people who are involved with business in my state, not one of them has come to me and said, please put tariffs on, it'll help us. Almost every industry in Kentucky has come to me and said, it will hurt our industry and push up prices of homes, cars. And so I'm going to continue to argue against tariffs. I hope they'll not go in place, and I hope they won't cause a recession. But already they're talking about exemptions because even the people for them acknowledge that there are real problems with tariffs.
Good evening, folks. This is FGV, and I know it's been a while since I've done some footage here, but you know the election is over. Donald Trump's people have been approved. They're all in office. There's been a lot of chaos and things that we're not used to, let's say, as a nation. Some people, say they didn't vote for this when they chose to vote for Donald. Now, let me just say, this is not a beat up session or anything of the kind. So let me just point this out. So look, obviously people, we know the MAGA people who've been in support of Trump since he first ran, and in all his time, they've been supportive of him. And I know for the everyday person, whether you're a Democrat or independent, you guys threw your hats in the ring, and some of you have voted for him this time around. Whatever your choice was for choosing to vote for him, it was your choice. It wasn't, you can't just sit and blame all the MAGA voters and supporters of his, because it wasn't just their vote that helped him win. There was a lot of you who chose to vote for him and did not want to choose to vote for the opposition, no matter what. Whatever your reasonings were, it was a choice you made. So with that being said, again, not a beat up session. It is what it is. It's behind us now. He is now the elected president, and J.D. Vance is his VP. Elon Musk is an assistant to helping him accomplish the goals that they want to accomplish. So let's talk about some of the things that has happened so far since January 20th. Now, he signed a ton of executive orders. And if you're not familiar how this works, as you know, the executive branch, its power is limited, right? Most of the power comes out of Congress. You have 3 separate branches. If you're not familiar how the government works, if you wasn't born and raised here to really understand, all 3 branches do work in tandem, but they also oversee each other to make sure that they're all following the Constitution. Now, you always hear that word Constitution. What does that mean? Every government has somewhat of a Constitution, because the Constitution is so that you're not lawless. So all governments have some kind of form of a Constitution so that they can have international law. It's a sign of structure and discipline, and that you respect your neighbors. Not just for us on a local level, meaning the individual, that you're upholding the law here at home, but also your neighbors like Canada, Mexico, China, whoever, right? And then vice versa. They're to respect their neighbors. So all countries have a constitution, but there's only one constitution like ours. There's never been another government to ever create anything even similar or close to what the founders have constructed here for this land, for the people who are here. This document is very important, obviously, because it draws a lot of enemies. And whether it's domestic or foreign, it draws a lot of enemies. And the reason why is because there is no other document anything close to this Constitution. It was vital for this country to thrive and be what it is. Without it, we fall in line with everybody else globally. There are people or countries, should I say, that envy what this country has been able to accomplish and be what it has been able to be. There's a lot of deep history. There's a lot of things that people don't realize what this country has been able to do, and the impacts that it has had, both here at home as well as internationally. We all have opinions. It is your God-given right because you have a brain, right? You are a living being. You have a soul. So you're entitled to your thoughts. But we're all connected. So when we do things that we think in some shape or form that might be beneficial to ourselves, if we're only thinking about ourselves, we don't necessarily think about consequences that could happen to others. The importance of this is that this message is that we have an understanding. Okay? So a lot of the government agencies that have been created, they have been created not too far long ago. Most of these agencies only been around 60, maybe 80 years at best. They were not around during the Constitution, so they did not exist. But you also didn't have as many people. There's a lot of us, obviously, we would be extremely old if we were around before 1913. As Trump pointed out, before the Federal Reserve took over, before we had a debt-driven system, the United States was functioning differently. But a lot of us, including himself, obviously has no idea, other than what was left in history, in the history books, or what it was like to really live in those time periods. And could that actually be implemented in today's time? There's a lot more people here. We live in a completely different age and time, technology. There's a lot of things that has changed, which drove us to this debt type system. And obviously the debt increased thanks to policies from Reagan, which led us to where we are today. Because believe it or not, before he was elected, our deficit was under $1 trillion. And then after, obviously, it just kept increasing from presidents to presidents. So both parties were responsible to adding to this deficit and leading us to where we are today. Not just here at home, but every nation is in debt. Regardless to what they tell you, because they're all trading in the dollar, it's a debt type system. And so everyone is in debt. Now, these agencies we depend on because this is all we ever had. We haven't had anything else other than these agencies. So when they go away, to cut costs, to get things back down to normal, as Trump is trying to do, there's going to be extremely a lot of suffering. They're not doing this because they're foolish or they don't know no better. They know exactly what they're doing. There is no if buts about it. They've ran many models on what it was going to be like. They do realize there is going to be a lot of people suffering. The pain hurts because there's going to be really a lot of people, whether you voted for him or not, that are truly going to be suffering from this. Corporations are now concerned about the tariffs, right? Tariffs. Yeah, we had a tariff type of system previously before the debt type system came here. But the world wasn't the way it was, and it wasn't as many humans on the planet. Some of these companies didn't even exist at the time. So there's a lot of reasons why that system may not fit in today's time. I mean, I'm pretty sure if they ran some kind of models, it probably would tell them what's the percentages or chances that going back to such a system would be successful or not. But either way, if you worked hard and you created a business of your own or a legacy or a name, and your company is being affected, I didn't come on here to say I told you so. You guys have responsibilities as CEOs for your corporations. That's a fact. You were put in those positions to oversee the company, see to it that the company was profitable, see to it that the employees are happy, right? And that the product that you are selling or promoting or whatever it may be, the business that you're in, is that it's successful. Now, here's the crazy part. Trump didn't hide any of this. He said all of this on the campaign trail. We knew, he's repeatedly have said this over and over and over. Excuse me, if anyone paid any attention to what he was saying. Some of it was politics, a lot of it wasn't. But you voted for it. His first 4 years, this is not like that. Again, time has changed. More people on the planet. Things have changed. New companies have come up, new technology. Nothing is the same. The one thing that I constantly keep seeing is everybody keeps living in the past and not so much for the future. You constantly keep looking backwards. You look backwards to learn from it. You don't look backwards to try to go back to that. You're supposed to be trying to raise yourself beyond your limits, your goals. If you're running a company, you don't look at the numbers last year and say, I want to be exactly where I were last year. You want growth. You want to actually be above and better than where you were a year ago. That's the goal. But CEOs, back to you guys had if you did your due diligence, some of you actually sat down with Trump at economic forums and things of that nature. Why on earth? You had 4 years of experience of him before and his administration. Why on earth would you not try to, inform your employees to vote wisely? We follow politics in this country far too hard. And what I mean by that is anything any politician says, whether it's right or left, you guys believe it. And they've been selling you on the same crap for decades. And a lot of times they always give you, they always give you partial information. Some of it's truth, some of it is not. But somehow we still make the same mistakes and still vote based off, he said his hair is purple. No, he's not. He said his hair was blue. I don't get it. He said this. Well, as humans, we can say anything. It doesn't make it factual. And we all are entitled to our opinions. Does it mean he's lying? No, not necessarily. He may not have all the facts, but it's your responsibility as an individual to make sure you know before making a decision. Because decisions comes with consequences, good or bad. I spoke to someone that have worked with, and they wanted all of this to happen. They knew this was going to come. They have been talking about it for a really long time. And they insisted that this is what we need as a country for it to be all imploded and start all over. I felt it was always irresponsible. Are they wrong for some of the things? No. They're technically right about some things. And some things, obviously, there's a moral compass. And if we're not coming up with solutions, which most of the leaders today do not come up with solutions, that's why the problem kept getting worse. Over the decades, it kept getting worse after some of the policies that was passed by Reagan led us down this path. But he will go down in history as a great president, right? But who could have foreseen that, 50 or 60 years later, that those same policies that was put in place would have led the country down a dark side? because we can't project that far. That's something we can't do. We can run all the models we want, but you will never really see the truth until we're living it. So we have to live with the decisions that were made. But since he had been in office, many other presidents have come along, many other administrations, many different faces in Congress, some of them still there. They know that some of these policies were not going in the right direction. But did they do anything to stop it, or write new legislation to change it, or have the case come back before the Supreme Court and maybe have it overturned? No. No. None of the branches done their job. They have not really been working for the American people. And they're not working for the American people today either. They claim they are, but they are not. By far, we can just see from some of the decisions that are made. They know that these things are going to hurt you, and they're still going to go forward. I see you. I see you guys at the town halls. I'm happy that you guys are there to voice your opinions. The town halls are a necessity. But the speaker tells his members to don't even go back to town halls because, the people are upset and disappointed. But the lie gets told that, those are all Democrats. Those are paid Democrats to be there. So it's offensive because that's the politics side. See the difference? That's politics there. It doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. If that's his district or her district, you represent them regardless of the party you uphold or ran under. Those are still your citizens that you are put in office, and they, whether they voted for you or not, they live there. That's the fact. My concern with everything that's happening, folks, is that we have lost the focus point of what is real. In this small video down below, this is Rand Paul from Kentucky, and he's talking about the tariffs. So as I play this clip, you'll see. But the one thing that he says, out of all the stuff he says there, which is 100% what's not being talked about, he says none of the citizens that I represent voted for this. They say they don't want these tariffs and how they're impacting their business or their lives. Unfortunately, this president believes that the tariffs is the way to go, and he is moving forward with them. When Biden got in, so I know there's some people on the left, Biden didn't really reduce the tariffs that much from the ones that Trump put in when he was first in office. But no one asked that. The inflation started with Trump's first administration, whether those on the right want to believe it or not. It was upheld from Biden's administration for the people on the left. He did nothing to reverse the tariffs or to bring the country back before COVID or before 2016. He did no such thing. So the inflation stayed, and as you can see, it cost them another election. They made no decision to undo what was done, knowing that this stuff was leading to inflation. We know that it was there because the data is there. I know there's some people that's going to comment on this video, and they're going to say, no, that's the politics. The data is there. You can see it physically with your own eyes. You can always look it up. It is transparent for you to see what your government, your country's doing, how the country's GDP, everything. You can see it all. It's always been there. You don't have to argue with anyone or debate it or disagree with them. You can just see with your own eyeballs. It gives you date, times, years. It tells you who was in office at those times. Every presidency. You can go back to 80 years. You can go up to 50 years. You can just go up to the most current year. It's all there. But the fact of the matter is, they started under Trump. It continued under Biden. He had no intentions to reduce them. And he's going to add more today. And so that's the reality of it. I'm an independent voter. I've always said both parties are one party, although both parties look at me and they say, no, they're not. One is eviler than the other. I stayed in independent because it allows for me to wisely make a choice or a decision. I've voted for both parties. At this point in time, I try to vote usually what I think is in the best interest for myself. For people I work with, you can tell if somebody's struggling or not, right? So you will know if a policy is hurting somebody. If it's not hurting you, you can tell whether it's your neighbor or colleague, because that's immediate. That's within your circle. When things are happening across the country that you don't feel or see, they're important to keep in mind during an election. But the reality is, all that matters is what is really within your own circle. And if you look at it that way, that goes down to local government. Because local government is your most immediate impact on what happens with your home, the schools, all of it. It's always local. When the president comes in, they don't even know who you are, right? Not unless you reach out to them, they don't know who you are. They don't know if you really voted for them or not. They have no clue. They don't know you. They've never seen your face. They don't know who you are. Local government. Local government. It's always been the most important thing, always will be, will continue to be. And if you're not focused just solely on what's happening in your neighborhood, if you're looking at the entire country and you're allowing for the press to create more anxiety for you, then you will continue to keep voting and making the wrong decisions with your votes. Because when the press goes on, they're being basically, whether it's the one party or the other party, they're telling them to say these things because they're basically playing the game of politics in the simplest forms. My show is called It's All a Show because that's really what Congress and the government is. It is all a show. And if you don't pull back the curtain every now and then to take a peek to see what's happening behind the curtain, you don't get to see the reality of it. To you, it's just a show and it's entertainment, and you don't get to see the things that they're doing that can literally impact your life. Listen to what Rand Paul says. What he says is absolutely correct. But the one thing in his soundbite of speaking with the press, the people didn't ask for that. Trump talked about it on the campaign trail, so you can't call him a liar. You can't say he didn't say this. You can't say that he surprised you. It was unknown. You wasn't certain what he meant. It's that no, it was there. It was always there. He's always said it. But that wasn't important to you at the time when you made your decision. I feel bad for those who didn't learn their lesson the first time when he came in, more like the farmers. Honestly, I would have thought you guys would have definitely voted differently, considering you are our food supply. You guys were vital to everything that happens. So if you guys are impacted, that impacts all of us daily. And if you guys were impacted the last time, why on earth would you guys have not gotten together and said, hey, I'm in Kentucky, I'm not voting for this guy because the last time I almost lost my farm. Oh, I'm in Nevada. Yeah, you know what? I didn't have the hardship you had, but you know what? I hear you. I'll be self-aware. If I'm in Florida, you guys knew what DeSantis did with the housing and agriculture down there with his immigration policies. This all, again, happened before the election. So that was an experiment there, and you got to see exactly the devastation that it was causing. Sometimes you guys have to put away the R and the D, the Republican and Democrat. Sometimes you have to look at policy. These are lessons that this is the only way we learn. This is how we grow. This is how we learn. So my suggestion is look, we got to pull it together. We're now in all of this together. There ain't no going back. And you guys have to do what you need to do. If it means writing your congressman, and he talked about, Rand Paul talked about his constituents, they actually reached out to him. That's what you're supposed to do. Reach out to them and you let them know you're not happy with some of these policies. For my VA brothers and sisters, listen, I feel for you guys. My family have served repeatedly for this country. Repeatedly, in every branch. Just know that, look, we all need each other now more than ever to get through this. But listen to what he says. And he's fighting, and that's the state of Kentucky. So you better talk to your members. You can't just keep putting your head in the sand and thinking it's going to go away. You can't put your hands over your ears and go, la, 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 I don't see or hear nothing. It's going to affect everybody. There is nothing in this country, just because it's in a different state, doesn't mean it's not going to impact you. Everything that happens in whatever state has a tendency to sometimes go national. You need to pay attention. Because your brothers and sisters in Kansas, something happens there, doesn't mean it can't happen here. You got to pay attention. So that's all I have to say today. Thank you guys for tuning in. And please keep showing your support. Subscribe. Thank you for your comments. Please be more than happy to voice your opinions. The only thing I ask is no profanity, but thank you.